see out of your defense from game 1 to game 2?
Well, I'm just excited to see us do our job, do it full speed, with red line and detail and discipline. I think they're excited to play, and I think that, we've had a really good week of practice. And Coach Keenan and the staff has really been pushing that hard. We've got had a great look from our scout team, and they're excited to go.
As far as the penalties go, what was some of the things that you talked about with the guys?
Just talked about, how damaging kind of those self-inflicted wounds are, and, understanding that everybody on the field, from the head coach to the trainer and everybody in between, has a responsibility, and no one's worth 15 yards. Nobody.
Michael and Jason, even the best offensive line prospects often don't play as true freshmen because there's so much development required at that position. Matthew Lotto came in this last game and played a bunch of snaps after he had an injury. What has he shown you to put himself in that position, and what are the challenges that an incoming offensive lineman faces to play as a true freshman?
Yeah, he's a really neat young man. Obviously, he's got a long way to go. He's really grown a lot in that body, kind of in the last 7 months. So that part of it is like part of his developmental process. Every freshman wants to play. I think the hard part is that there's just a developmental process to getting good at college football, and so sometimes when a freshman has to play early, it accelerates that development. But there's some tough lessons in there, and I'm sure that we're going to do everything we can to bring him along the right way. But there's going to be some tough moments for him. It's just the nature of it. You're going against guys that are 4 or 5 years older than you, and guys that have been playing for at least that long, and have more experience on this level.
Jason and Brian,
you had mentioned after the game the amount of tackling you did throughout camp. Now that the season has started, what's your approach there, especially after a game where maybe you missed more tackles than you would have liked to see?
Well, a lot of that has to be with guys doing their job and being in position to make a play, and so I think some of that, and not just being where they're supposed to be in terms of schematically, but being where they're supposed to be in terms of their body posture, and whether that's bent knees or under control when they get to the point of attack, not just flying by, stuff like that. So you try and do a lot of that in practice, and give yourself a chance to work on angles and kind of form tackling and the proper way to tackle and the proper position to be in. But it's definitely something that's hard to simulate, and I think coaches across America are having this conversation every single off-season, in-season, because you're trying to create the most safe practice environment you can, but also get kind of the required physical work you need to get done, and it's a challenge.
And then as a coach, when you watch film, is there, I don't want to say is it a better feeling, but I guess is it a better feeling when you see stuff you go, okay, we can fix that, as opposed to it's a talent issue or something like that?
Sure. We always want to operate in the space where we control. What do we control? If it's something technically or schematically that we can control, that's always way better than someone like, And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you're playing against a player who's just better than you, right? And then you got to do a good job with getting population of the football, or having a good, idea on how you want to play that person. Schematically, you have to try and offset it.
Brian?
In regards to the wanting to spread the ball around, throwing it, but maybe in other areas as well, how do you avoid having anyone involved in that maybe overcompensate for what was or wasn't done the previous game?
I don't think we look at it that way at all, right? Just like the progression's the progression, and in most progressions you're going to have a primary, and then you're going to have a secondary, and it just kind of breaks down that way. So for Noah or whoever's playing like that part of it, just let Noah play. I just think you can overstructure that. Sorry, I just think it can be detrimental, right? So it's just like just play.
Yeah, it would be a case where you're like, let's try to have these guys be more the first read to try to get them the ball more. You want to not make a major change like that.
No.
Justin and then Mike.
Just what have you seen out of NAU on film?
It's hard. You only you have one game, and it's a new staff and that kind of stuff. In some ways they're probably saying some similar stuff about us, except that defensively we're like we were a year ago. So, but I think we got to spend a chance to spend some time with this coaching staff. They had a camp this summer, and we went down there and worked it as a staff. It's a really good group of guys. They're really, really sharp. I think they have good players, and I think anytime you play one of these games, it's always complicated. You know what I mean? Because for their roster and their team, it's obviously a really, really big game. And for our roster and our team, it's a big game, but it doesn't feel the same as a Big 12 game. You know what I mean? So I think that's just me being honest. And so making sure our players understand the importance of that, because every team you line up against now in college football can beat you. It doesn't matter. Every single team you line up against, every single week. And I've been in those situations where when I was at San Jose State, we lost to a good UC Davis team, and it was tough, and they beat us. They outplayed us. You know what I mean? So I really think this is about us, how we approach it, how we attack it. I think we've had a great week of practice, and now it's about lining it up and playing the game.
And what do you think about the turnover sword?
The what?
The turnover sword that you guys
I think it's
have.
cool. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool tradition that it's been here for a little while, and I think it's awesome.
Michael and Troy. That jumbo package that you guys used, is that something that you used at San Jose State? Or was that something that someone?
Similar, yeah, similar. Yep.
Does it have a name?
No, no.
I'm afraid. The game was really long this last week. I don't know if you felt that. There
Yeah.
were a lot of stoppages and replay. Do you have any idea why, like, it went that way? And if there's certain things that maybe could be.
You know, I think first whenever you play on big networks, you're gonna be times where you have 4 timeouts a quarter, and so that's gonna always impact the length of the game. And then I think last week there was a lot of reviews, and so those reviews take time. So it's nothing more than that. It doesn't really matter to us. Like, we got to play from start to finish. So but I know it was long, and I know the games didn't start late. But I appreciated how the crowd showed up. I appreciated how they stayed and rallied, and the Zona Zoo was awesome, and our fans were awesome. And I think that's one of those things I've been talking about all offseason is that, in this new conference we're going into, every stadium is going to be full, like 100% of the time. You know what I mean? And we need to create that same environment here in Arizona Stadium. So when our opponents, when NAU shows up here on Saturday night, or when our opponents show up here down the road, they have to feel what that feels like.
Troy and then Justin, you kind of mentioned it in terms of, it's a big game. It's not a Big 12 game, but it's still a big game. And having that mindset, how have you seen the upperclassmen, the leadership in the locker room kind of take that message and give it out to the freshmen?
Well, they've been great about it.
Been through this type of-
They've been great about it because they lost to these guys 3 years ago. So they know what that feels like. You know what I mean? So our upperclassmen have been fantastic that way. And I think that's really, they have to be. Like the senior leadership of your team are the ones that have to make sure that the team is in alignment with our culture and how we attack our process. And so those guys have been awesome.
Justin, then Brian.
What do you like about Genesis Smith as a defensive back, and how beneficial is it to have guys like Dalton and Gunner kind of mentor him in his first couple years?
Oh, it's awesome. Genesis is one of just the most fun guys on this football team. He just has this incredible energy, the big smile. I hope you guys have gotten to talk to him a little bit, but he's just a super engaging young man. His parents are amazing. He's got a bunch of siblings. They just like the happiest family on the planet. But having guys like Gunner and Dalton, Stukes, those guys around him is incredibly valuable. Right? All those guys are really good players. They've all played a ton of football. Them being kind of in that big brother mode is extremely valuable for his process and his development. And I think we're all expecting big things from Genesis as his career continues here.
Last question to Brian.
With you having a shorter week next week, if this game gets to a point where you feel like the outcome is not in doubt, will you be quicker to sub out the starters so that because they have less time to recover?
It's funny. I don't even think that way. I mean, I guess that would make sense, but like we need to win the game. And in the final ledger, they all count the same. I know they don't count the same to, the fan base or the university, but in terms of the final ledger and wins and losses, that every game we play counts the same. And so we just need to win a freaking game, and that's all that matters.
All right, that's your time.
Thank you.